So, hello and welcome to the first certification webinar from Worldchefs. My name is John Clancy and I will be your host for this session. I'd like to welcome you all to this event and to thank you for joining in such fantastic numbers. I believe we have over 1,000 people who have registered, which is amazing. So thank you all for joining us today. I know you're coming from all across the globe, chefs, culinary educators, hospitality managers and leaders right across the world. So we hope that you'll enjoy the session today. I would like to say, and I think on behalf of Worldchefs and my colleagues, that we hope your families and loved ones are all staying safe and well during this, what can only be described as very challenging times for everybody during this COVID-19 pandemic. Worldchefs, we're very aware and conscious of the impact that this is having on people's lives, and especially those of you who are working in the global hospitality industry. And it is our fervent wish and hope that, we will return to normal soon, and it will happen very soon for everybody. So before I start, I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues who will be working with me on the webinar. First of all, Lynn, who is in the background. Lynn is working away along with Olivia, who is managing our Facebook. We're going live on Facebook, I believe. So you will see that broadcast for those of you who have logged in there. And we will be answering questions as well. I'd also like to introduce Ms. Dora Teamer. Dora is the Senior Manager for Recognitions and Frameworks at City & Guilds. And City & Guilds are our quality assurance partner for the Global Certification Program. So you'll be hearing more from Dora later on in the program. So what I'd like to do now is, if I may, is introduce the agenda. And let's see, yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is our agenda that we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to do a little brief introduction of the global certification. We're going to talk to you about what a digital badge actually is, the overview of the certification, the benefits of a digital badge, the route to a certification, and then we're going to take a closer look at the whole program. That will include the platform, the Learning Assistant platform, which I think you will find very interesting. And then, that we'll go through that in quite some detail. Then we have some testimonials, and then the next steps. And then finally, then there will be Q&A. Just on the Q&A, you can actually, if you want to post questions on the Q&A facility on the Zoom here, and we will then take those questions as we move along at the end of the presentation. So, okay, so I suppose let's start. Give it a bit of context and the whole idea of the global certification. We introduced it in 2012. And as I said, it was developed in partnership with City & Guilds. And so City & Guilds are a global accreditation body. This is the world's first global certification. There's nothing like this anywhere in the world because it's a global certification, and it's co-designed with leading employers. And it also is, the whole purpose of it was to recognize skills and experience which are gained on the job against a global benchmark, which in turn would make that visible in the form of a Worldchefs digital badge. And this Worldchefs digital badge is the latest form of technology that supports skills and recognitions and verification for everybody. So what a digital badge is. So it basically takes real life learning skills, and it makes them visible, and it makes them measurable, and more importantly, it makes them global. So this digital badge is a web-enabled version of a certificate which can be verified in real time and online. So anybody looking to check on someone's qualifications or experience, they can actually go online, click on the badge, and they will see at an instance all of the information that they need to see about that person. So again, it allows the application to be recognized for their skills and the professional experience, and that makes them more employable, allowing more opportunities for them to progress in their careers. And we know that today, our business, it's very, how would I put it, people move around a lot. So, it's an opportunity to be able to use this facility and use this digital badge to be able to say, look, you know, I can bring this to it. It's mobile, you know, so it really works very, very well. So this here is the certification overview. So what we have here is we have 9 levels of certification, and those 9 levels we'll talk about later on. But each of those levels, they're linked to a career stage, which clearly defines the stages, you know, and the standards that we require as part of this program. An important point here is that chefs, and indeed all applicants, must be currently employed to apply. And this is a really important point because it's one of the strengths of our program, along with other ones which we'll talk about later on. So we move on to the assessment process. So the assessment process is where the chefs apply for the level at which they're working at. And once they've gathered all the information, and I like to use the analogy of, you know, when we as chefs, when we're going to cook a meal, what do we want to do? We have to get everything together before we put it all together. So this is like, if you like, it's kind of like gathering your mise en place, gathering all your information together, having it all there, and then being able to then upload it. And you know, it's not necessarily necessarily required that you would do it all in one go. The beauty about the system is that you can enter information into it today, you can leave it, it'll automatically save that information. You can then return back to that information and continue on where you left off. In fact, you can review and revise your information, and Dora will be talking more about that later on in the presentation. So I think you'll find, you know, that it's quite a flexible platform to work on. As I say, once you upload your evidence from your day-to-day job role, and that includes your professional experience, the evidence then submitted is then independently assessed by a team of highly qualified assessors. Those assessors are under the auspices of City and Guilds, because the whole quality assurance process includes the assessment and verification, which is really quite unique, and it's quite detailed, and I think it's really good. That's what gives it its strength, really does, you know, and you can see that here. So from the quality assurance and certification partner, City and Guilds, they will quality assure the badge, they'll quality assure the assessment, and they will also issue the badge as well. So because they're the issuing platform. So then the benefits, well, there are many benefits, but I mean, I think the first one will be, you know, getting recognized, being able to stand out from the crowd, showing your commitment, you know, and your learning, and indeed your whole focus on continuous professional development to employers, because that's what employers want to see. Employers want to see people who have passion, who have go in them, and who want to move on in, you know, throughout their career. And it's really, really very important that you can show all that. With going global, the certification, it makes it easier for employers across the globe to recognize your skills and experience, because, as I said, it's all electronic. It's there. It's easily accessed now at a push of a button. And you know, with technology today, look at where we are today. Here we are all talking using Zoom. It's an amazing platform. You know, this certification that we have, the badging, it's the very same thing. So it's instantly accessed by all employers. It would also help you to get ahead faster. You know, you can apply anywhere at any time, and you don't need to be, you know, you can be anywhere. You can be in any part of the world, you know, looking at this and saying, okay, well, you know, I'd like to look at this. I'd like to apply for it. What we would say to you is, you know, if you're going to apply, you know, make sure you're using the right technology. iPhones don't really work that well. The likes of PCs, iPads, they work perfect. But again, you know, it's mobile. You can look at it, and you know, you can, as I say, you can move on from time to time, just filling it all in. Again, more benefits. The badges, this is a beautiful, really good one. Your badges can be shared on social media, and this is a great tool to help you build your career pathway. You know, and also, again, as we said before, it's about showing your continuous professional development, which in turn will help you to mark key milestones as you progress through your job, to your job role. Because, you know, nobody stays in the same position forever. We all move up. You know, the whole idea is, and that's why when we created the 9 levels, it was about the typical progression route for people, for chefs and all other people working within the industry, that they would move along up and progress in their career. Again, Same thing when technology is, as we just spoke about, you know, the digital badge is an important tool to make skills visible and to show the job readiness. So in other words, it's saying, because all of your information is on that badge, so they can see, the employer, prospective employer can see there, and they can say, yes, okay, yes, we like what we see here, and we will consider that person. You know, it also connects people's, which is important, with obviously with job opportunities as well, through LinkedIn and so on and so forth. I'm going to show you a little video now here.
The hospitality industry is one of the largest employers in the world. With so much growth in the sector, how do employers find, nurture, and keep talent? City and Guilds and World Chefs have collaborated with employers to create the first global certification for the hospitality industry. This global framework recognizes the skills and experience of hospitality professionals, no matter their skill level. Global certification unlocks the doors to progression and attracts and retains talent in the sector. Employers can now reward their staff for doing their job well and help them progress to the next level by showcasing a range of career opportunities within hospitality. Individuals can show their skills and build their careers with a clear progression route.
When I found out City and Guilds were doing something that was kind of work-based and something we could do in-house, it was a dream for us. My message to other employers will be start now.
This is the future.
This is the future of talent development.
This is the future of recruitment.
This is the future of people.
This is the future of hospitality.
So I think that video kind of really captures it quite well, what we're trying to, the message we're trying to get across here. So this here is like, if you like, the route to the certification. So these are the steps that we would say, you know, that make it easier for you to kind of follow. So obviously step one would be to choose the badge. Now, to choose the badge, you obviously need to go to our website, and we have the information here, which is on top here, worldchefs.org, global certification. There you will find all the badges, and you make sure you pick the correct one. Read the certification requirements. It's very important that you read it. These are really important because, you know, to make sure that you're picking the right level of certification, because it really has to match your skills and experience and the position that you're currently in, working at. And then step two, applying online. You pay the application fee. When the application fee has been paid, you will then receive access to your online account. The online account is what we call Learning Assistant Platform, which Dora will talk about shortly. And then step three, submit your application. You must prepare and upload your evidence. And as I said before, it's about having all that evidence ready, you know, at one point, so it's easily accessible and so forth. Then your application, once you've submitted your application and completed your evidence submission, you then, your application is assessed by the assessors. You will then be notified if further information is required, and that's done through what we call our contact diary. So you need to regularly keep an eye on the messages that come through. Everything comes through electronically. You cannot, everything has to go onto the platform. You know, we don't accept information in any other form or any other, that's the only way we can do it, because it has to go onto the system. Step four, receiving a badge. So when everything has been passed and when everything has been successfully accepted and so forth, you will then be issued with your digital badge if your application is successful. And then step five, it's about sharing your badge. So you can claim and start using a new badge once you've received it. And you can put it on social media, you can put it on LinkedIn, you can put it on Facebook. We see it done all the time, which is really great. So here we have the nine badges. And what we did was we just wanted to include the cost of each badge. So there you can see that we started off with this one here, which is the Commis Chef, which is the fees are all different. By the way, this is a one-off fee. This is a one-off, a lifetime certification. You do not have to renew your certification with the World Chefs. Whereas with some organizations or some institutes and associations, they have maybe a renewal after maybe 4 or 5 years or whatever. That's absolutely fine, but World Chefs have made the conscious decision not to do that, because you know, once we're giving it to you, it's yours. What we're going to do now is just take a closer look at one, and we're going to look at the executive chef here. So what you see here is, this is the requirement for what we would like the executive chef to be. The holder of this badge has to be a professional chef with an extensive knowledge and experience of managing the food operations. The individual has a proven track record in managing multiple food outlet services within the culinary establishment, which would include, and not exclusive to, managing and developing people, budgeting, forecasting, and contributing to the implementation of the establishment's strategic plan. The holder of the badge is employed as an executive chef, a corporate executive chef or equivalent, or they can run their own business. So this is the requirements that you have for this particular position. So then the closer look here is, this is what you need when you're actually this is the requirement of the actual application. So the entry requirements, obviously relevant experience, very, very important. And as I've already mentioned, employment status, you must be currently employed. The witness testimony, this is a really strong, a really good strength of the application process, because how do we need to be able to confirm that you are who you say you are and you're in the position that you say you're in? So we do that, that's demonstrated through witness testimony. So your line manager or your HR manager must verify that you are actually in that position. So it's a really strong point, and you can see it here. Also, we also have there, if you're working in your own business, you happen to have your own business, there's a declaration of business ownership which has to be filled in, has to be completed. That's if it's applicable. And then we move on to the written tasks, culinary knowledge and skills. This is where you're asked to, you're asked to submit evidence, you're asked to submit recipes of some dishes and so on and so forth, and photographs of the dishes that you have prepared. This is part of the evidence. And then obviously then you would be required to provide evidence of the experience, that you're working at the level of which you're applying for. Again, very important. And then the badge components. So the badge components are, there's really three, if you like, there's three kind of elements there, right? And the three elements would be, the core skills, the role. Again, Dora will kind of go over those during her presentation, her part of the presentation. And then the last one there is documentary evidence. So these examples can include, but they're not excluded to, recipes, menus, reviews, competition awards, and so on. You would also be required to provide a current HACCP and food safety certificate, which must be valid. It has to be valid and in date. And then you can provide titles on certificates or anything like that you have achieved over time. So they would all be taken into consideration as part of the evidence. So then when your badge has been issued, this is what you would see. So this is the actual interface that you see here. So all of these here, these are all the skills that you're looking at here. So these skills can be clicked on, and they'll highlight, and they'll actually bring up the skills that you are saying that you have specifically to your badge. We will also at some point very soon, hopefully, we will be bringing in an electronic or a PDF certificate, which will be to support your badge. That will be coming soon, maybe in the next 3 or 4 months. We're still working on a design, so that's an exciting development, and I think a lot of people, I know chefs love certificates, and but like at the end of the day, this is a digital badge. This is we're moving into it. We're moving into an age of technology. This is digital, and I think this is really the way to go. And again, because it is what it is, it's so easily transferable. And I'm going to show you now just a short little video here of this is on our website. So if you wanted to go and search for, say, the certification, you would click on it here. And then you could click on the Global Certification Network icon, it brings you to the interface piece here. Just go down along, and then you can see it here. You can explore the badges here. So when you explode the badges, it brings you to the interface here. So you see all the badges. You see the culinary badges, and you're seeing the hospitality badges as well. So if you click on culinary arts, you'll see all the 9 culinary art badges. And then it takes you to this here. You go to the application form, and then before you go there, you're brought to this, what we call the handbook. This handbook is very important that you read the details of this handbook. And again, it has expressed all the information that we talked about earlier on. And then you click the apply now, and it takes you then to you complete this form here. You're registered. If the application is for you, you click yes. And then, as I said before, it takes you, you then receive an email, and from that email, you land on the page. I'm now going to hand over to Dora, who is going to walk you through the next couple of slides. Dora?
Thank you, John. So what I would like to do over the next couple of minutes is just to give you a quick virtual tour of the online assessment portal, which John has mentioned is called Learning Assistant. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you will be able to see the homepage for the certification that John has just taken you through. So just to recap, this is where you can find all the badges available. This is where you can click on the badge, look at the certification requirements. And once you have chosen the badge which is right for you, and just to reiterate a point that was made earlier, you need to make sure that what is outlined in those handbooks fully matches what you are doing as part of your day-to-day work. Yeah. So if you find that the handbook is, let's say, 80% of what you do, but there are requirements which you are not able to evidence, then our suggestion is that you look at a few other badges, because once you are in the application process, we will be asking for evidence against all of the requirements which are set out in the handbook. So please do take your time to choose the badge which is right for you. Once you have chosen the badge, John has just showed you through the little video that you will be able to make a payment on the same portal. Once you have made the payment, you will then receive an email. It's called a welcome email from Learning Assistant from the online portal. Within that email, you will have your login details, and that will include your username. And please check the email for the username, because it's not your email address. Typically, it is the first name dot last name that you put into the application form. And it will also include a link. It's called the first time login link, which you will need to click on, and it will prompt you to change your password to a secure password of your choice. Once you have changed the password, you will then land on the opening page, which is what you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So here again, you need to use the username, which will be in your welcome email, and then you will need to use the new password that you have chosen. And John, if I could have the next slide, please. Sure. Once you are in the portal, the one on the left-hand side is really your home page. And there is a black bar in the middle, and the black bar will have the title of the certification that you have chosen. It's a good idea to double check that this is the title you wanted to apply for, just to make sure that you are starting the application for the correct level. Before you do anything, however, what we would strongly recommend you do is that you go into the resources section, which is the one that's highlighted in a pink circle, and you look at the guide to your application. The guide is what I call normally the Bible to the application. It gives you a very detailed step-by-step guidance to what you need to do to prepare your evidence, how you need to upload the evidence into the portal, how you need to name the files. So if you take the time to go through the guidance, your chances of success are greatly enhanced, because it will hopefully explain everything that you need to know. And if any of you on the line have already started the application process, I just would like to highlight that we recently, and that's last week, we updated the guidance. We included a few more tips. We included more information based on feedback we have received. So if you downloaded the guide more than a week ago, then please do go back and have a look at the new guide, because hopefully it will have information that you will find useful. Now, every application, every badge will have 4 key parts to the application, which are the gray boxes that you can see on the black bar in the middle of the screen. And once you click onto the black bar, then you will be taken to the second screen, which is what you can see on the right-hand side. And you will see here that every part, so part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, they have all been broken into individual tasks. So here you will see that part 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 are the tasks. The 4 parts will allow you to provide evidence against your professional background. The typical breakdown of the badges will be that part 1 is about you as a chef, what you do, your background. So it will give us a flavor where you work and the type of job role that you have. Part 2 will be the one that John has already mentioned, which is asking for evidence from your line manager, from your HR manager, or if you are running your own business, it will be your place to put in evidence that, what business you run and that you are the owner. Part 3 of the application will be your day-to-day responsibilities. So there will be a series of tasks that we will ask you to complete in order for us to have a good oversight of what you are doing. And part 4 will focus on your professional development and your progression. Another important point to note that you don't have to do the application in one go. You can log into the platform as many times as you wish. So you can log in, you can look through all the tasks, you can take your time to think about what you would like to upload. So there is no time limit as such. You can complete the application when you have got the time. You might do it over the weekend, in the evenings. So there's no time pressure. The application window is 6 months. So we expect that somebody, even by taking their time, will be able to gather the evidence. But we have got applicants who have completed it within a few days. So it's really down to you. It's not like a training program where we are setting the pace for you. It's entirely up to you how quickly you would like to do it. In case you need a bit more time because you might have had changes in your personal circumstances, you can always get in touch with us and you can ask us to keep it open for longer. But we find that once you start, it's much easier to do it if you do it continuously, if you don't just leave it and come back to it, because then everything is still very fresh in your mind. So John, if I could have the next slide, please. Then this is just a reminder. It's really important that before you start uploading your evidence, you will need to accept what we call a declaration. And that declaration is important for 2 reasons. One is because this is your confirmation that everything that you upload will be your own work. And there will be naturally quality checks on what you've uploaded. So this is you saying that what you are seeing is something I have produced and I have created. Secondly, if you haven't accepted the declaration, your application cannot be assessed. So the assessors, the very first thing they look at in the application is whether you have accepted this declaration. So please make sure that you don't forget to do that. Next slide, John, please. Now, this gives you an overview of the 2 types of tasks that you would really need to do once you are in the platform. One will be when you will be presented with what we call a recording form. So it will be an online written task. There will be a series of questions. All of the questions will be related to what you do as part of your day-to-day work and your background. And you can simply answer those questions on the screen. And like I said earlier, you might answer 1 or 2 questions, then you want to think about the others. You can go away, log back in. You just need to make sure you save the answers that you have given so far. Secondly, there will be a range of evidence that we will ask you to upload into the portal. And that's something that you will be able to do in what we call the evidence folder. That's what you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. And the type of evidence that you will be expected and asked to upload will be recipes for dishes that you have prepared, photos of the dishes that you have prepared. Depending on the level, we might ask you to upload a copy of a menu, your certification. So there will be really files that you can gather from your workplace, you put on your computer, and there is one single, a very easy 3-step process that you can use to upload the evidence. Next slide, please, John. And once you have completed all the tasks, then the final thing you will need to do, well, there are 2 things. One is that you will need to submit the evidence. And you will know that you have submitted everything because you will see that the tasks, which were gray before, they have now turned dark blue. And on the black tiles on the screen, and it's highlighted in a pink circle, it will say submitted, while before it was not yet started. So once everything has turned dark blue and the circle on the left-hand side of the screen has turned fully blue, then you know that you have submitted all the evidence. And as I'm showing you on the next slide, then the final thing you will need to do, and that's another really important step. So John, we can click across to the next one, please. You will need to confirm by making an entry in your, what we call a contact diary. You need to confirm that I am done with my application and it is ready to be assessed. Now, the contact diary is a really important part of the application because this is where all the communication related to your application is going to be recorded. So this is where if you make a note like we are doing on the screen to say that I'm ready, my application is ready to be assessed, it gets recorded in the contact diary as you can see it there. But also importantly, any feedback on your application will be recorded in the same place. So it's easy for you to find if you need to do anything else. Once you have made the first submission, there are two things that can happen. And John, if we can click to the next slide, please. It might be that there are a couple of things that you need to explain, or there might be things that you might have missed out. So if you need to do any further work, then you will see that some of the tasks have been turned back into a yellow color. Now, in the guide that I told you that you can access, there will be instructions in terms of how you can set up notifications from the system so that you will get an email once your application has been assessed. And once you, if this is what you need to do, if you need to do a bit more work on the application, then the way in which you work with the tasks will be exactly the same as what you did before. Again, you just need to look out for the feedback. An important point to note that there are 2 opportunities in total for you to make a submission. So first you go through the entire application. That's what we call the first original submission. And then you have 1 opportunity to correct any errors or to add additional information. So this is why it's so important that you look out for the feedback and you take your time with the second submission, because this will be your final opportunity to send us or send the assessors any information that might be missing. And then John, if we can go to the next slide, then we can look at what it looks like once an application has been completed and it has been successful. So you will see that all the tasks have turned green and it says 100% completed. So that's great news, because that's when you know that you have done everything you needed to do. And at the same time, as soon as the assessor approves your application, in the contact diary, your badge will appear. And that badge is exactly the same badge that, John, on the next slide, we can also show that you will receive. If you can go to the next, yeah, thank you, John. So as soon as your badge has been issued, you will receive an email from the online badge issuing platform. It's called a claim. And that's exactly what your email will look like. And of course, the badge will be the certification level that you have applied for. And the final thing you need to do, and again, it's really important, you don't just look at the email, please make sure that you accept your badge, because it's by pressing that button that you will be prompted to create your online account. If you are receiving your first badge, then there is a very, very quick 3-step process you need to do. So email address, password, and that will give you a free lifetime account where you can collect all of your future badges. If you have already got a badge, then you can simply log into the same portal, and within the portal, you can then officially claim your badge. And you would have already seen a screenshot, which is showing on the screen again. John has showed you that that's the view that, that you and anyone else that you share your badge with will be able to see. And importantly, just to reiterate the point that John has already said, it's a lifetime badge. And on the top of the badge, you will be able to see when the badge was issued. So if you are an employer and you are looking for talent and somebody sends you the badge, simply by clicking on the badge, you will be able to see how long ago the person received that badge, and you will then be able to take a view whether that's current enough and whether you are happy with the person's skills being up to date. Another important feature I would like to highlight, that those little boxes which are under the skills heading, John has already said that you can click on those. They will also allow you to search for jobs in some of the countries. Currently, the system covers 7 countries around the world. More countries will be added. But this just shows you the connectivity between having a digital badge and the skills tags linking into live job search portal. And that's a trend that's happening around the world. An increasing number of recruitment companies are looking for the skills tags which are digitally enabled so that they can find the right talent. So I think, John, that's probably enough for now. I'm sure there will be a few questions in the Q&A, but I think I can hand back to you.
Great. Thank you, Dora. And that's very great detail there. I think it's really important because, you know, obviously they're seeing this for the first time, but I mean, the only time that they will actually see it is actually when they log in. So it's good that that we have seen the advanced review of this. So thank you for that. Just to move on, and I think it's important that, you know, we do get testimonials, and I think these are 2 really nice testimonials. These are recently approved recipients of the badge, and the first one from Brad Bennett. Brad is based in Australia, and, you know, I think his comment is really important, where he says he can highly recommend completing a global hospitality certification. Not only did it raise his professional profile, but it will also validate the years of experience that you have worked at hard to achieve and assist in global recognition, which with obtaining a worldwide award reflects the highest standards of our profession. And I think that's a really nice, statement, and it reflects all that we're trying to do with the World Chefs badge. Alistair, just because somebody hired you as an executive chef does not mean you are one. I wanted to understand this for myself and test my knowledge and ability that I have learned over the years in my career, and he certainly has done that, and he certainly has displayed it. That's for certain. So and then I suppose, you know, we couldn't not have a presentation like this with World Chefs without having a message from our leader, Thomas Googler, our president. So Thomas says here that millions of highly talented chefs from around the world who could not afford to take time out from their busy jobs can now demonstrate the wealth of experience they have gained over the years easily. And I think that puts it really puts it into a nice, succinct comment, and I think it's very nice that he contributes to it. Yeah, so it's important. I think what we're going to do now is, I think at this stage, because we're doing quite well. We've got another about 20 minutes. So I think there are some Q&A there. So let's, could we take a look at those? So maybe Lynn might give me an assistant here. What do I need to do?
So John, you just need to click on the Q&A button.
Yeah, I've done that. Oh yeah, okay.
Yes, so you can see that there we have 20 open questions.
Yes. Well, I see a question here now, which is quite interesting. Dora, can you see these questions?
I can, yes. If you just give me a shout which ones you would like me to take, and I'll be happy to answer.
Johnson Tan. So Johnson asks the question, does the global certification collaborate with the local certification from each country as well, or a reciprocity between countries? So in other words, is it recognized within different countries?
So just to explain that, we have created global certification because employers around the world have indicated that they really would like to understand the skills and the experience of chefs who are applying to get a job. So the certification is an employer and industry-driven certification, which means that we have built everything based on job roles and based on the type of skills that employers require. So technically speaking, and a large part of my background is to do with frameworks and qualifications and standards, it's looking at almost another part of somebody's professional development.
Yeah.
Qualifications are really important. They continue to be important, and qualification frameworks in different countries often are designed to take somebody through that journey from having no skills to being qualified enough to work in the industry. And you could almost say that global certification kicks in at that level. So it's really once somebody is already in the industry because they've picked up the skills. So we have designed the qualifications to speak to job roles. They are very open and happy to work with national qualification bodies to link the certification to national frameworks. The reality at the moment is that many frameworks don't really have a process that allows a global skill certification to be formally aligned to them. So in a sense, they are not ready for that yet. And also they need to have the right mechanisms. And we are working some certification agencies to see how it can be done. But I guess John and I, we always laugh about it, that the industry is ahead of the certification frameworks because, you know, they need to have formal processes in place. The one collaboration I really would like to highlight, because that's a very important for us, is the one that we have got with ACF, the American Culinary Federation, where we have linked the global certification with as many levels as possible. And John, I don't know, would you like to maybe say a few words about that?
Yes, and thanks for bringing it up, because I think it is important. So we've collaborated with the American Culinary Federation, and as most people know, the American Culinary Federation, they offer, I think, in the range of 15 different levels of certification for chefs at different levels. So what we did was we mapped, I think, about 5 or 6 of their programs, Dora, am I right?
Yes.
I think. So looking at their criteria and their criteria, and you know, we a lot of work went into it. So we now can offer fast track for 5 of those levels for chefs who already hold an ACF certification, so they can come through our system without having to go through the full, what Dora was showing there, without having to go through the full application process. They can come through what we call a fast track route. We will, I think at this stage, we may even decide to do a second webinar on this, because I think the fast track route is interesting as well, but it's a little bit more detail required. But what it does is it gives people easy access into it, rather than having to go the full gambit of filling in the full application. We also have partnerships as well with other associations and companies that we have fast-tracked their programs, but they're coming in on smaller numbers, and they're coming in as individuals as well. So yeah, it's interesting, and any organization that's out there that can offer programs like that, we would certainly be very interested in speaking to them. Absolutely. I'm just going to move on, as I'm just conscious of time. So I see another question here from EF, and EF is asking, how many badges can we get? Now, how many badges can we get? That's a good question, Dora.
Well, the badge. Every badge reflects the level at which a person is working at, and you can straight go to the badge which is at the level of your job role. So we certainly do not limit the number of badges you can get. In reality, if you have got a badge for the job role that you are doing, the next badge you would get is when you move one level up. So, you know, it really ties to the career progression that chefs would have in their career. Yeah.
And then I see another question here from Siddharth Burats. So what about chefs who lost jobs due to the pandemic? As per the chef's presentation, it's clear currently employed could only apply. Any other source? Thanks. Well, I mean, we've talked about this story before.
Yes.
And sorry.
Would you like me just to maybe comment that what we have done?
I think there would be no harm talking about the Irish project.
I was just about to say that the certification has been designed because employers asked us to make sure that if somebody receives the badge, they know that that person has got current skills. But what we are doing in a number of countries, we are working with governments to see how we can embed the global certification into their national skill strategy. And Ireland was the first country where not only we are working on a 2-year project to use global certification as a key tool to help upskill the hospitality workforce and recognize, of course, the skills and the experience that they have. But also as the pandemic hit the world, including Ireland, we were able to work with the government and to release a number of badges where we could slightly adjust the process, which is a little bit more work, but we adjusted the process so that we can help chefs who have lost their job. So my answer to that question would be that I know that many chefs are well connected in your communities. So if there are opportunities where there is support available for those who have lost their jobs in terms of skills redevelopment and upskilling, then we would be able to look at those opportunities on a case-by-case basis. But there is a precedent where we successfully deployed a service.
Yeah, and also happy to report that actually some of those people who have availed of the certification have actually received their badges, which again is another good news story. Absolutely, yeah. So, hi Chef, would still be there be a credit from previous certification, like upgrading your badge rank exactly from WCCC to WCEC? Trying to work with that question.
I think it's what we are not able to do. We are not able to give a partial recognition for other certification, but what we can do, if somebody has got another certification, that can be used as part of what we call part 4 when we look at your professional development. So part of the evidence in terms of learning and training you would have done can be any other certification. So you would be able to use it as part of the evidence within the application process.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Another question here, Dora, from Ashan Dagita. Hope you're all well and good health. I want to ask one question. Before lockdown, I was supposed to join another 5-star hotel at CPD, Chef de Partie, in some section. Every documentation was, sorry, I'm losing this, was done.
I think, yeah, I can see the question, John. Yeah.
They froze the recruitment. Like, so basically it seems like he's not employed, I don't think.
Yes. So again, that goes to the previous question, isn't it? Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, there will be some questions here that we may not be able to answer all today, but we can. I think another important point as well is that we know, and I will mention now, we have, Dora and I put a lot of work into the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, and I think you may really find the answers to a lot of the questions in that document. And again, that document can be found on our website. So
and John, just to say, it's just gone live. So yes, exactly. It literally this morning we managed to publish it. So
I'm just looking to see here if there's any more questions here.
I think there's one, John, I can see that, and it's probably one that I can answer, which is whether the certifications are registered on a framework. Yes, so as we mentioned earlier, they are not registered on the framework for reasons that we discussed, which is because it's very much an industry-driven framework. In the future, but it's mainly within industry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking here about, there's 2 very good questions here actually. One is from Belvant, and he says, what about the cruise industry? Well, I mean, the cruise industry, we actually have we have actually accepted candidates from the cruise industry, so there's still quite a bit of interest there. So obviously we'd like to see more of them coming through, but maybe it's something we can look at later on. This was here. What do you think? The Veg Chef company, we validate their program through Ruby, so we offer them the fast track Commis Chef route, as you know, Dora. So that's I think that maybe.
And just to say, John, that plant-based dishes, vegan dishes, can also be submitted as part of the evidence. So it's absolutely possible.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure if there's any other ones here. Sorry.
There was one which is asking, John, about while you are looking for the next question around how to choose the right level. Now,
oh yes, do. Yeah, please, yeah.
I would like to again share with you that we have just updated the introductory guide as well. So if you go on the homepage for global certification and you look at the bottom of the page, you will find a fully updated document based on feedback we have received so far. So that will answer that question, and also the FAQs.
Great. I see Ragnar has just joined us, has he? Has he gone, or is he? I thought I saw him there for a second. I see a question here from Peter Wright. This is Peter, our good friend in Australia. I think it's Peter in Australia anyway. And Peter's asking the question, If you have a current World Chef certification, can you upgrade to a badge? Yes, of course you can. Can't they, Dora?
Yes, it depends. I'm not quite sure what other certificate. Would it be an older Worldchef certification before we had the budget?
It may be one of our previous versions. It may be our first version or whatever. You know?
Of course.
Yeah. So I think that's. I think if it is the same, Peter, right? And good day to you, sir. If it is you.
And then Peter, if you would like to get, if Peter knows you, he can always get in touch with you, and
sure.
and maybe we can clarify the details of his query. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, does being recently laid off from your position apply as being unemployed? Now, there's an interesting question. Does being recently laid off from your position apply as being employed? I think we talked about this before, Dora, but I think if
we did.
What do we do?
So what we said is that, as John has mentioned, and I also highlighted, that one key part of the evidence that's required is a testimony from your line manager and the HR person that you have consistently displayed the skills and the experience that we require. Yeah. Now, if you have just been laid off, or in countries like the UK, you have got a scheme where you might not have lost your job, but you can't go to work, so you are almost like on a leave. As long as you can get in touch with your employer, and as long as they are able to testify by providing all of their details that they have been working with you, for months or years, and they have seen you consistently displaying the skills that we need, that would be acceptable, as long as, again, we can demonstrate that the job loss has been as a result of COVID-19.
Yeah. I see another question here from EF, and he's asking, I think it's a he or she, how many chefs have already World Chefs badges? How many get the maximum of badges? Well, if we go back to 2012, and I think, Dora, you'd agree with it, I think we've issued over between the badges, and if we're talking about the badges on their own, we certainly have issued in excess of almost 2,000 badges since we started.
More than that, more than that, yeah, several thousand, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a growing thing. Yeah. An interesting one here as well. I work in a school as executive chef for 10 years. I don't work in a hotel. That's fine. What you would need to look at, have a look at the executive chef handbook on the website. Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, the key thing is to make sure that you are able to evidence all of the skills and competencies we are asking for. So the setting doesn't really, you could be working in a stadium, you could be working on a cruise ship, you could be working in many different settings. Another question here from my good friend Karen Doyle. Karen is in Australia, and Karen asking the question, does the program have an education component in the form of mentoring, coaching, conferences, webinars, online classes, or in-person classes? You see, this is an interesting question, because I think some people may think that this is an actual course, it's an actual training course, a program. When in actual fact it isn't, as we both know, it's a recognition program.
That's right. And what we do have, and that's probably not a topic for this webinar, but we can do a separate webinar. We are able, so Worldchefs and City and Guilds are able to work with training providers who have their program, and the badges can be aligned to training programs. Again, I don't want to divert the conversation from the individual route, but that's another topic that we would be happy to cover.
Totally, yeah.
John, there's a question on language you might want to pick up, which is probably also of interest to the attendees.
No, go ahead.
But it's asking about whether it would be available in Spanish. And it's just to say that the certification currently is only available in English. It is not to say it doesn't matter if somebody doesn't speak good English, but we just need the applicants to be able to speak good enough English for them to understand the instructions and to be able to understand the feedback and submit the relevant evidence in English.
At some instances, we may require translation of some, if the documents are submitted in a different language, we may want them to translate that language into English.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, just trying to think if there's any other.
And there was another one, John, which was asking whether the executive chef is the same one as the, I lost the question, or the consultant chef, I think it was. Corporate chef, apologies, from Nisa. So the certification, the badge issued would be the executive chef badge,
Yeah.
But what we are able to accept applications from people from different backgrounds, because we know that no two settings are the same.
Yeah, an interesting one here. How to find our level in case we made mistakes? Will you lovely people help us to choose the right badge? Yes, we will. But at the end of the day, I think what you've got to do is, and we've said it so many times, and I think it's important to keep saying it, that you must read. You know, you really need to read the requirements. You need to read the handbook. It's very important that you read that, because that's where all the information is, and that's how you can assess that you're at the right level. And if it's a case that you're not at that level, well, then maybe you should consider looking at a level below that. You know.
Absolutely. And there was another interesting question, John. Oh, I just lost it, which was, I'm just looking for the name, whether it's easier to apply a job if somebody has got the certification. And my answer would be that it definitely helps you stand out from the crowd, as we said earlier. It really helps to show to the employer that you have got your skills and experience internationally certified. And it also shows, and we've spoken to many, many employers about it, if they receive an application from somebody with a badge and another application from somebody without the badge, and the two people have got similar skills and similar background, they consistently said that they would definitely pick the one with the badge, because it also shows them that that person has taken the time from their, you know, the little free time they have, they've spent money on their certification. So the very strong feedback from employers that they would definitely love to see people coming through with the badges.
Absolutely, yeah. I see another question here from my good friend Andreas Kurfertz in Switzerland. Hello, Andreas. Hope you're keeping well. So one is able to apply for 2 badges, like for culinary educator and master pastry chef.
I think it would be interesting, because the educator one, the culinary educator one, would typically be somebody who's got a full-time role because of what they do.
Yeah,
at the same time, we have seen a few examples, John, you may remember, where somebody would be doing a lot of teaching and training and mentoring. So they actually do presentations, they do classroom work. So if the person is able to evidence it, absolutely.
Here's a very good question as well. Is there a size limit when we upload the evidence? Can we upload video also evidence?
You might find that, I believe that the current limit, and we will come back to, we'll record it for the FAQs and we'll edit, but there is a limit. So it depends on the size of the video. Megabyte, we would suggest that you don't upload it, because it could take away from the, space away from the other evidence that we need you to upload.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just thinking here's any other ones here. Probably no harm at this point to even just to mention the Worldchefs Academy, because I do know that it's a short training program. A lot of young people may be interested in that program. It's free. It's on the Worldchefs website, so people could look at that if they wanted to, just to get a taster for the hospitality industry. It's a really good program, and I think to date, I believe we've certified over 3,000 people in that program. So, and that's something we're looking at as well, you know.
And John, there's another, I'm conscious of time, and maybe just we can squeeze in 1 or 2 more questions, but also to say that any questions we haven't been able to answer, we'll incorporate them into the FAQs.
Absolutely.
But there's one, John, that keeps coming up, which is the minimum requirement in terms of the number of years.
Yeah.
And the way in which we look at it is that we mentioned that the level of your job role needs to be aligned, or needs to be relevant to the badge that you would choose. And we would be looking to see whether the person has been within their job role for long enough. So in this example, Renato mentioned that they've got 12 years of experience in different restaurants. Now, it would depend on the level at which they worked at. So 12 years in restaurant and chef de partie. As long as, Renato, you are working as a chef de partie, and you have been working as a chef de partie and performing the tasks which are outlined in the certification handbook, 12 years would certainly be more than plenty. But the important thing is that you are able to evidence all aspects of what we have outlined as an international chef de partie job role.
Good question here from Avtar Rana. After the certification, would the Chef Association would help the chefs to get desired jobs as per their skills? Well, I mean, that's really up to the chef associations, I
But
suppose, in a sense.
it is, but what we should, I think, mention, John, is that Worldchefs and HOSCO and City and Guilds are working in partnership.
Yeah.
So that in case you are not yet a member of HOSCO, please do look at becoming a member. So if it's HOSCO, and HOSCO is the largest network of hospitality professionals, including, of course, many chefs, and they are connected to many, many employers around the world who are posting jobs live within the HOSCO platform.
Absolutely.
And again, we hopefully have some exciting news in the very near future around how we are incorporating the badges into that network. So please have a look at that.
Another question from Ritesh. Ritesh says, "Sir, any opportunity for students?" I'm assuming he's meaning that students are, is it a student that's studying culinary arts? I'm not sure it is that. I'm not sure if that is what the question is, but
I think there are two answers to that. One is that, as I mentioned earlier, we are able to work with training providers. So what can happen is that training programs where the learners do spend time in the industry for sufficiently long, and they are able to work as a commis chef or a chef de partie typically within the industry, it is possible to link training programs to the badges, and that's a separate process. Secondly, it's also worth looking at a setup where the students might be spending time in the industry as they are studying. And it might be that they are not yet fully ready when they graduate, but they could be ready in about 6 months' time. So again, the link up for them to see, what do I need to be able to do? That's really important. So when they are ready, they are able to apply through the individual route.
Yeah, and I think that kind of answers the question, the first question here from Madame Senya, where they're saying, please, what about people working with schools, not hotels? So maybe this is somebody who's maybe teaching in a school, so they can apply for the culinary educator.
That's right. Also, I'm just looking at time, John. I think we have just reached the time limit, and I'm sure that all the chefs, especially those early morning, late night, depending on where they're calling it. So
look, what we'll do is thank you, Dora, for that contribution. And I think though, hopefully we've answered those questions sufficiently for people. But please do go to our website, www.worldchefs.org, global certification.
Also, it's just in case anyone has got feedback, John, I think you mentioned, so it's questions, but also any feedback will be welcome, isn't it? Whether,
absolutely, totally.
as Lynn said, whether similar questions would also, similar webinars would be helpful in the future.
Exactly, yeah, because I think it's the first of it. This is the first one, so let's see what happens. Let me just go down through and see if there are any other. This is interesting. Prince Sharma. I'm a chef but don't have any certificates or degrees. Can I get any level certificate, and is it enough to prove my skill set? Yes, it is, obviously, yeah.
That's why we designed it. You know, that the main reason for having global certification is because there are many chefs out there who are doing a fantastic job, but they might have learned almost everything on the job. So absolutely, just make sure, again, as we said many times, please do have a look at the handbooks before you apply, so that you are applying for the level which is right for you.
And then another question here from Nelson Joseph. Greetings, Chef. If any student wants to get these badge, is he allowed to apply to the certification? Yes, they are, of course, absolutely. They can apply for, if they're students, we would assume that they're at the commis chef level.
And maybe, John, if I may make just a general suggestion, or just an idea, I guess, that I'm sure that there are many chefs on the line who have got teams. When you look at the certification handbook on the website, you might also find it useful just to show it to members of your teams, and you know, just to see what they think, to see who might also be interested, because often just talking about it can make people quite excited. So this is all about helping the culinary community to show their skills and to make their skills visible.
Yeah. Here's another interesting question here from Martin in Australia. So how does a Master Chef certification from the Australian Culinary Federation stands against the WACS Global Certification? Well, the answer there is that we would need to map their program against the requirements for our certification at that level.
Yes.
And that's something that we will look at.
And John, I think you also already extended an invitation to any organizations, certification bodies who would be interested in doing an alignment. So that's something which would certainly be of interest to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking here. Any other ones here? Tony Balantag. I'm supposed to be leaving Philippines last March and I'm joining Riyadh this November. Sous chef. Is it okay if I can apply there? And what if I go back to Canada? Is it okay if I'm also a member of the CCFCE? Yes, of course it is. Absolutely. The beauty about this certification, the badging, is that you can apply for it from anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you are.
And even if you move around, again, what we are interested in, when I say interested in, when you are making the application, what we will be looking for is that the evidence that you submit relates to where you work.
Where you were, exactly.
So that's the timeliness of the badge, that we need a testimonial, we need the witness testimony from your line manager.
An interesting one here from Ravi, and actually it's addressed to Lynn, but I'll take it for you, Lynn. It says here, I was issued with a WCEC badge last year. However, I was unable to claim the badge. Any suggestions? Well, I think, Dora, you've kind of really sufficiently covered that in the presentation. But I think what maybe is something.
Maybe just to say that if they already have got an online account, then they are able to log in with the same email address.
Exactly.
But in case they have any difficulties, John, I'm sure that you would be happy for them to get in touch with us at the certification email address, and it's very easy for us to reissue a badge. So in case somebody is not able to get access to the badge for any reason, then we are able to help them with that.
Help them as well, yeah. That's great. So again, thank you, and thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Olivia, and to the team of the office. And Dora, again, thank you for your participation. Finally, just to say thank you to everybody involved, the participants, and we hope you all stay safe, stay well, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.